Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, as the case may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite Creator. And I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings that are out there in the universe just awaiting for you. So I hope that you are doing well. I have been kind of quiet on my end as far as doing videos, but we've had internet outages. There have been personal PC issues that has kept me from doing what I would like to do when I would like to do it. But anyway, we're still here and live and kicking. Duggar says hello, 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 period. Yeah, say that three times in a row, real quick. Duggar says hello, and we both hope that everyone is doing as well as possible under the circumstances. And so, this particular video is a little overdue in that I wanted to do it the other day when it was like fresh in my mind. But as some of you or many of you may know, I live with the woods, like, 10 feet behind my house, and the woods, the swamp, whatever you want to call it. And this subject came to mind, which is the title for this video: Learning to Listen uh, for the Quiet Silence. Now, Steve, how are you? There was a good conversation this afternoon, and I got to talk to my doctors, and actually the nurses at the doctor's office, and they went through all of my concerns. They spent almost 45 minutes with me on the phone between two different people and stuff, and learned a lot and feel a lot more comfortable about it. But anyway, so sorry I had to. Plus, I had wood to get in because we got storms coming in here in a couple of hours, and I fixed my saw, and I needed to get that firewood in, and I'm not supposed to be toting stuff, and that firewood's heavy. But anyway, so for the subject for tonight, though, so in listening for the quiet silence. Now, what the hell do you mean by that, Hawkeye? That just seems to be a really loaded. Hey Michelle, how are you? Mean you need to have a talk about electricity and what you need, by the way. I love you too. But listening to the quiet silence and learning to listen. So it's like now, Michelle, it's a good thing you're here, and thinking of that, um, I have to prep myself because this has to do with the. Hang on, it's going to be knocking things around trying to find what I got here. These are the woodpecker feathers I found the other day that I was talking about, and so listening to the quiet silence. What does that mean? Well, the other day, I have not taken too many walks recently because my back is really bad and it hurts a lot. So sometimes just sit. Now I'm not saying this to bitch and complain. It's the truth. Okay, just that's all there is to it. So it keeps me from walking when I want and where I want. So the other day, I was like, man, I knew my spirit needed the woods. I knew I needed to take a walk. I was hurting. and which is like an everyday thing. Like I said, this is not a bitch or a complaint, it just is. So I was like, man, y'all give me the strength to go take a walk. And they were like, okay. And I was like, huh? Well, we want you to walk this way. Now, I've talked about this before, and I have found things before in the woods by, well, I want to go, I'm going to go this direction. And the spirit's like, well, why don't you go over here? Well, what's wrong with going this way? Well, so this was one of those tests for me, and it's a test for other people too. It's how you listen to your spirit guides. It's how the quiet silence is where you hear your spirit guides. I dropped one of the feathers and I was trying to, where'd it go? Man, come on, it's just right there. Where did that feather go? Hmm. Wow, it like disappeared down here on the floor. Holy mackerel. Where did that feather go? I don't see it. Hmm. Well, okay. I don't have a flashlight at the moment. So, but anyway, I'm walking down to the edge and I'm walking along and listening to the spirit. It's a nice little walk. I haven't been in the woods in a while. Hey, Isby, I hope you're doing well. I'm always sending prayers out to you, by the way. Um, so I'm walking along and everything's going along okie dokie. And Joe, how are you? So I decided I'm going to walk over to where I'd been feeding the deer. And as I'm walking down there, I was like, man, I should have brought some deer corn, but I didn't know I was going to go on this walk. I just kind of ended up that direction. So the spirit is leading me. And I say that because, you have to listen. And so I'm like, if I'm just walking aimlessly and I go over here, and if I'm not listening to the silence, if I'm not listening and paying attention and being quiet, then the little voice inside's going, bear to your left a little. And so I'm walking to the right, and then I get this urge to like, kind of just bear left about 15 degrees and go this direction instead of over here by these trees. So I'm like, well, okay, that's groovy. I'm just kind of walking in the woods and now, but bear a little more to the left. All righty, it's still in the general direction. And then I find, you know, a woodpecker feather on the ground, right? And I'm like, whoa. Now, if I had walked 10 degrees to the right and kept walking, I would have missed this feather. So I'm like, oh, it's going to be one of those. And what I mean is by one of those is that it's a test. So do I hang a little more to the left? All right, now where do I go? So I'm obviously I found one. Thank you. I appreciate it. The spirits kind of pushed me into the woods to begin with. I wasn't like prepared to go for a walk and wasn't planning on it. So, but I was absolutely listening to the quiet, to the silence, and they were like, "Come on, Hawkeye, you need to go take a walk." Yeah, but my back hurts. Yeah, but it's always hurting. Quit making that an excuse. Go, go. You said, "Give me strength, O Lord," and here we are. Now, go, go. Okay. So now I'm standing there. I found this one feather, and I look around. I go, and I don't see anything. Now, it's where I'm standing is fairly clear. There's not much underbrush, and I can see a good 10, 15 feet, all around me. I don't see anything. So I'm like, my decision is like, there's all kinds of directions and all kinds of angles I can go. So I start to walk to my right. and the urge is like, nah, there's nothing over here. And I was like, so I'm going to walk over here a little to the right anyway to kind of prove my own, whether or not I'm hot or warm as the game might be. Yeah, I don't have any cliffs, Joe. So that's one thing in my favor. I don't have any. Well, I do have high banks down at the river. That's another story, but no, they don't do that. No. If anything, I'm scared of cliff edges anymore. I found that out when I went to Ohio 2 summers ago. But anyway, but I'm standing there observing, looking around, and I'm like, hmm. So now there is um, um, an area 15, 20 feet away from me to my left from where I'm standing. And there are little bushes there and so forth, where over here to my right it's like open and clear. And there's only the occasional, little bushy sticking up. And so I'm like, I'm going to go this way. And they were like, go ahead, but it's the wrong direction. Had to prove it to myself, kind of thing. So I walked, I don't know, 20 feet, and looked around, nothing there. Sure enough, turned around and went back to where I had been standing. I walked 5 feet in the direction that they wanted me to go. I find another feather. And then just a couple of feet away, I find another feather. And then a couple of, and then there are two of them together, just a couple of other feet away. And I couldn't see these feathers, which at the end of it all, this is how many of the woodpecker feathers that I found in this one area. Now, had I gone to the right, had I followed what I wanted to do, I wouldn't have found any of these feathers. And they were basically in one area, I would say within a 50-foot area, but they were in such a way that I had to walk through these little bushes kind of things, underbrush that, waist high. I had to walk through there because that's where all of the feathers ended up being. So, had I followed my intuitions and had followed my instructions and went the way I wanted to go, I wouldn't have had any of these feathers. But because the spirits had kind of sent me on this journey to the woods the other day, because I needed to listen, and I think I'm always paying attention, but they wanted me to go to the woods and listen. And I'm like, okie doke, you know. So um, let's take you to the woods. We've got a present for you. Seriously. We've got now, as I was standing there and looking how the feathers were, um, now I did not see signs of a struggle, but there are signs on the feathers that something ate this bird. Okay. Ate most of it, left a few feathers, because this is, if something wild has caught something wild, or birds or whatever. My observation over the years is that, you know if there are this many feathers, the bird's probably dead. All right. So I stood there and said a prayer for the bird, because woodpeckers, um, they are fairly abundant down here in the swamp, in that we have them, and you can always hear one pecking somewhere off in the distance. But it's not one of the birds that, you often find their feathers. It's really odd to find woodpecker feathers in the great woods just walking around, unless you know where there's a nest or a hole or something like that. But just putzing around in the woods like I was doing the other day to find a feather, which I was really happy to find the first one, but to find this group of feathers. And it was because after I found the first one, my instincts automatically said, we need to go and find the silence, which means I need to quiet my mind and listen for where the spirits tell me to go. Now, is it my instincts? Well, it's my instincts to follow other instincts. What? What the hell are you talking about, Dave? It's difficult to explain. So, but in the silence where you silence yourself, I mean, I'm still here and paying attention and everything, but then I'm in the quiet and the silence, you hear the voice of this your spirit guide, or your maybe it's your inner self, and maybe it really is my intuition. But I proved to myself the other day again, my intuition was wrong, because I was like, no, I think I'll go over here. Nothing there. you know I think maybe over, nothing there. So I went back to listening, had to find the silence of myself, and in that silence was the answer. A little more to the left, a couple more paces, and I went, oh my God. I mean, I was so close to it. I was like, oh my God, there's more feathers right there. And I kept wanting to go over here. Oh my God, look, look, look. And then, okay, now where do I go from here? So the little voice was like, a little bit, go down this way and go into the thicket. But yet, okie dokie, because up to this point, just the other day now, I've found the first feather by listening to intuition or the silence. Go over this way instead of over here. Found some more. Go this way. Found some more. Go on down this way, and I found this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 feathers at least. So, by listening to the quiet, because you got to quiet the inner self, and then you got to listen. It's extra. I don't know how else to put it. Like I'm being quiet, and your brain's working. Well, I found one over here, and what if there's over here, and what? And you're being quiet, but you're not really silenced yourself. So you have to go that extra step. And it is. And it's not hard, but it's that you just, and now there's an epiphany. Listening to the intuition silence is the first step to remote viewing. Yep. And I won't say it's the first step, but it is one of the steps to learning a bunch of stuff. I mean, on the spiritual level, as a shaman or as a whatever you want to learn, when you can find the quiet and then learn the silence, spirit whispers. Yep. But here's the thing, Michelle. What I've learned for myself is that when I'm being quiet, okay, but then I go into the silence, okay, they're not whispering, they're almost hollering. It's like, you dumbass, we've been trying to reach you. Shut up long enough. We've been trying to tell you, but you won't And so I'm like, okie dokie. Now, it's not quite that. Uh, the other day was not quite like that, but they were like, pay attention. Um, Ooh, I'm sorry to hear that, Steve. It's a balmy 50 something here, but we got rain coming and thunderstorms, and some bad weather that's possible. We hope that's not going to happen. And some more rain. We got right at 3 inches of rain here at the at the Hermitage the other day, which we needed. But it didn't flood anything. But anyway, so for whatever the reason is, whether it's if you're trying to learn a new language, if you're trying to learn anything, to really absorb it. Now, there are some folks who just pick up stuff and they just got it, right? For those of us with a learning disability that we got to go over things a time or two, one of the things that I've learned over my many years of dealing with this disability is that I need to absorb whatever it is they're teaching me. You know, I got a test coming up. So what is the test on? So I've got to be quiet, and then I've got to go a little for me. I've got to go a little step further and say, okay, now I need in this quiet, I need to hear the silence of me, maybe my own intuition, and I would go over, whatever it is that we were studying or whatever the subject or whatever it is when I was learning lines during theater, I would think about the character and where my, blocking was and who I was speaking to and I would just play the whole thing in my head. But that was in the silence. I'm letting the movie play. This is my part in it. This is how um, so, but learning to be quiet is one thing, but then learning to enter into the silence is absolutely another step. So, what time is it? 12:58. It's almost 1 o'clock. So, but anyway, I wanted to share this experience, which was very recently, just the other day. Um, in that, call it what you will, call it your intuition, call it your spirit guide, call it, God speaking to you. But adapt it in any way, shape, or form that makes sense to you. But in this of things, though, that when you listen to the nature of stuff, you are led, the universe will give you presents along the way. Sometimes when I settle down into the quiet silence, random thoughts pop up. I wonder what's for lunch. There's a fly on the wall. Well, if you're in the quiet silence, you ought to have your eyes closed. You should not notice the fly, but anyway, different strokes for different folks. But some folks, I was so determined the other day to prove my point that I'm going to go over here. There must be other feathers in this direction, and I was so totally wrong. And I was like, well, there you go. Um, another example that my intuition ain't really what the spirits are talking about. They drug me down here to the woods, kind of pushed me, and I really needed the walk. I really did. I needed to see that there was water down there. I needed to see footprints in the mud. I needed the walk. I needed to go down there. And despite the discomfort and pain and wobbly or whatever. So for other people, there, why would you want to find that silence? Why would you need to go into the quiet? What is that, um, okay, Dave. So there's the quiet, and then there's the silence, and there's the silence in the quiet. What do I need this information for? What good does this do me? Right. Well, was it Joe that said another first step to remote viewing? I can't do remote viewing. I suck at it big time. For whatever reason, I I think this is my 10 cents worth on remote viewing for me. I hear other people's thoughts, I think. And so when I go to focus on something, it may be what somebody's thinking, but it ain't what the subject is. So I've been so completely wrong so many times. I'm just like, this is not for me. However, I know that I have been able to remote view people and places. Hey, Diane, how are you? Good to see you. And I know that because I've been able to say, well, you were sitting at the computer and you were drinking, you had a mug in your hand or something. I've been able to prove my remote viewing, if you will. And so, but to do it like with Max, and I just, that don't work for me. I can't do it. But I have done it. I went into the silence with my eyes open. People noticed it before and thought I was becoming an airhead. The lights are on, but nobody's home. That's cool, Joe. I've done it with my eyes open too. Because sometimes, like I was walking in the woods the other day when I was in the quiet and the silence at the same time. So, had I closed my eyes, I would have tripped and fell quickly, tripped over a vine or something, might still be lying in the woods. But Duggar would have licked me to death by now anyway. um, but so it's up to the end. Why is this important? Why should I even consider this? I'm just a regular Joe. No offense, Joe. I'm just a regular person. What good is this? Well, if you can learn how to listen to your own intuition, or it might keep you from having an accident. It might keep you from, it might give you a little bit of foresight. Because I know that when I listen, there are times when turn left, okay, and I turned left and avoided an accident. There was times when the police were chasing me and the girl I was dating at the time through 3 different counties because we had a pound of weed in the back seat of the truck. We didn't know they were there. But my intuition said, we need to turn here and go down this way and go down this way. And we lost them. Um, Thank you, Jesus, for listening to intuition. So sometimes, not that y'all are driving around with a pound of weed in the back of your truck, but that's not my point. Sometimes when you practice to listen to that inner voice or whatever it is, they can warn us of all kinds of stuff. And not necessarily just warn us of bad things, but give us hints on something good or I don't know. Oh, if you go this direction, you'll see a young deer, or if you walk down the path, or if you go take a walk, or if you get out of the house, something wonderful. It just depends. Hey, Chloe, I know you was. um, so I was joking about if you were going into the silence and looking at the fly on the wall, Joe. I was pretty much joking about that, but when you're in the silence and the quiet at the same times, sometimes you notice the fly on the wall or something else or whatever. But that's the whole point of going into it. So there are folks out there who would like, Dave, this is just stupid information. I got no reason, no rhyme, nor right to want to even consider what you're discussing. And here's my 10 cents about that. I would say then you're cutting yourself short because that is a very intense power on a personal human level that can save your life. depending on situations. And it's a very serious thing. It's not something that folks should just fluff off. Now, somebody's going to watch this and go, yeah, but I don't go out in the woods and look for feathers or whatever. And yeah, but there might be something else. You might live in a neighborhood, or you might go to work a particular way, and something in you just says, I'm going to go this direction today, and come to find out there was an accident. Maybe the fly on the wall is a hint to something. Right, Joe. Sometimes even insects can give us messages. But um, so what good does it do to learn how to do this, or to even understand that it exists? It's because for native peoples, the intuition it's born in each of us, but in native traditions, it's nurtured, you know, to be aware of your surroundings, to be aware of the creator, to be aware of the great spirit, to be aware of nature, and to be aware of things around you, to be aware of just all stuff, right? Where I keep referring to white people, but it ain't just white people, but other folks is non-tradition, non-native or whatever. um there have been taught to not pay attention to it. you know Imaginary friends when we were children. Some people, some kids, some children actually see ghosts and other spirits, but they're taught to, don't pay attention to them. I've known instances where there were grown-ups who could see spirits, and the parents of the child who could not see the spirits were convinced their child was nutty, crazy. And when other folks said, no, 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 your child is actually seeing the same spirit I'm seeing. Hang on, your child is special. Don't put that child down. Because they were like, you can't be talking about that. You're not seeing things, and you shouldn't be, So encourage her, don't put her down. So, and she was like 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old at the time. But anyway, with that said, though, so we need to encourage these things. So, what should be natural to us and still is, but I think for me the other day, the spirits had to say, you've been sitting in the house, which I have. I've been going to the hospital and to the doctors and preoccupied with, all these tests, which I have. And I haven't really took a walk, which is true. Because it's been hard to walk. So they were like, you're going to walk anyway. And I was thinking of this. Um, they were showing this South American tribe. It was in some documentary. And this little old lady, granny lady, of course, she could be 70 years old like me, and she could barely walk. And she had a walking stick, and she'd take one step and she'd stop. She'd take another step and she'd stop. She'd take another step. But she kept taking steps. She just, it wasn't fast. And sometimes her stops were just to bring that other leg up, and then it was another step. And sometimes she would, that her, when she stopped, it was 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or a minute. And then I do that going up the driveway to check the mail. I walk a little ways, and sometimes I just got to stop. So, but the interesting part is in this, though, it's that um, in that quiet silence, we're listening more than to just ourselves, or maybe we're listening to our true selves. And maybe it's my heart or my lungs or whatever it is saying, hey, you need to You need to just stop and take a moment. Nate's locked at the same spot since we moved in. He definitely sees. Well, that's interesting. An imaginary friend, now that you're 30? Not at all, Joe. I've been criticized at talking to spirits and things and stuff, and I've been crazy for a long time and went through 30, 40 years of therapy, literally. I went through a bunch of years. Um, but anyway, in the grand scheme of things, what time is it? It's 1:06 in the morning time. I have my favorite pipe sitting here that I just been egging to light up ever since I got done with Robert's show. It was interesting tonight reflecting back on that. In that the cards that I picked were all related to water in some way. And female divine energy in both male and female, but the divine energy, and that we should not feel helpless, and that the turtle and the frog, you know frog is cleansing, and if and I know that there are people out there that are feeling overwhelmed, that you need to figure out how to find a quiet moment, and sometimes in the midst of the chaos, you just put in your earplugs and let her rip. Let the chaos go. Just let it go. And sometimes, you can say, "Oh God, I wish it was quiet. No, it's too noisy, and the energy's killing me." If you're thinking those kind of thoughts, then you're making the issue worse. You really are. You can have the thought in, "Oh my God, these energies feel like they're killing me. Oh man, I need to take a deep breath and release some of this." So you can have the thought, "Oh my God, this stuff feels like but so that means I need to." So you use the statement, "Oh my God, it's killing me. I need to release it," is your next statement. If you keep on with, "Oh my God, this energy's killing me. I can't believe this another day I'm getting bombarded with these energies, and oh my God, I'm so tired." If you keep going down that route, if you keep following that mental attitude, and it's an easy slope to go down. As soon as and that's where paying attention to the silence and the quiet comes in, because self will tell you, don't be focusing on the negative. Of course, you feel like shit. The other day when I walked down there to get those feathers, I was having difficulty walking. Okay. And I made it down in the woods a good ways now. I made it all the way down to the river. You hear me? All the way to the river, which was not on my agenda of things to do. And instead of just walking 100 feet or so, 150 feet in the woods, I went over 1,000 feet in one direction down to the river and back. Now, let me tell you, I was huffing it when I come back. All right. But I was really glad I got a chance to see the river. I was really glad because it was flowing and doing better than I thought. I got a chance to see beaver drags, and I got a chance to see things along. I got a chance to be in the woods. I got a chance to feel the fresh air. I got a chance to be in the woods which is, I have missed it because my excuse is I can't walk. And so when I got back, I was graciously sore. I was like, now I'm hurting, but boy, does this feel good. That walk did me good. I've got a whole packet full of feathers that I found along the way. into the silence, into the quietness. Now that was me the other day. So, but I know that there are those of you who live in neighborhoods and you don't have it's much different for you. I understand that. Okay. But I didn't need the woods. I did need the walk, but the woods is my convenience because I live here. But I needed the walk more than I needed the woods, in that the walk helped me to find the quiet this particular time around. And it helped me to find the silence. And yeah, Joe, I had both eyes open, walking around looking for the fly on the wall. But with that, I was like, I can see clearly now the rain. You know, there's an imaginary something at my work, but I'm not sure we're friends. Well, there are times when I don't really see the spirit, I perceive its presence. So it's like there's something over. I'm making this up at the moment, but there's something over there. I can't see it, but I know it's there. And then when my friend Marcia was alive, she could confirm some of these things. And she'd go, there's something over there. And I go, really? Yeah, well, I kind of, in all this 360 that's around me, something feels funky in this direction. So I wasn't right all the time. And she would tell me things, and I would be like, it's over there, right? And she'd go, no, it's over there. So I was wrong a lot of time. All right. So, and over the years, it's how you develop it. And so it's like looking for the feathers the other day. Um, I c- I chose to go this way, and I was wrong every time I chose to go that way. But when I listened even deeper, I found all those feathers. Anyway, but when I was young, I prayed my vision to be changed in how I see. It would frighten me. Yeah, there are times when it frightened me too. It was like, are you sure you really want to see what's over there? Like, Dave, don't be a dumbass. Well, I feel like there's something over there. What does it look like? You don't want to know. Are you sure, Dave? Yeah, yeah, show it to me. Ah, and you run and scream and go in the other direction. There have been times like that in my lifetime. Um, that it's like, whoops, caught a glimpse of something and go, that's okay. I changed my mind. That's like you have to go back a few years, but it used to be that I was like, all right, show me the future, dear Lord. Um, what am I up against? What can you show me that I can warn others? Right. This has been several years ago, and then for those of you who've been around, you may remember me having this conversation. In that, I had they had shown me so much that had become so true. I told him, I said, I don't want to know anything else. I can already see the future coming in what's going on in the world. I don't want you to take me in the dream time and show me all kinds of shit. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I really don't. And there are folks out there going, yeah, I want to see the future. You should be very careful. And now I love Max and what he's doing about remote viewing. And I will mention this now. What time is it? It's 1:15. Not everybody should be remote viewing. There are some folks who just should not do it. And I would caution everybody that does it. Now he's running controlled situations, but to be on your own and remote viewing of stuff, I would say be careful what you wish for. And be careful because when you start putting your energy out there in places and are looking and exploring, there are things that are watching and that you may not want to be watching you and that can find you and follow your little astral trail ass right back to your house. And there was a gentleman that I knew, um, Cherokee descent, Indian friend and woodsman and very astute. And he was telling me, he said, I was in the woods and he said, a couple of spirits came up and said, hey, why don't you come back and stay with us? And he said, I could actually feel their hands on me. And I'd had some other people say that too. And I was like, what? They want to put their hands on you? And so it's like, so um then I love Max. I think he's great. I really do. But in this spirit astral thing that's out there, I know that I used to, ooh, let's go out and go run around and fly around and stuff. And now it's like, nah, let's stick to the house. Let's stay close to the house. I'm still going on trips and stuff. They still take me to wherever it is they take me and show me stuff. And that's okay. But my wish before was like, show me the future. I'm gonna get my crystal ball out and we're gonna do and I'm gonna be able to net. And I remember I can't tell you, but it's been 3 or 4 years ago when I said specifically in the video, I don't want no more. I, for those of you who have watched me for years now, and you may have missed that video, but I was like, no, don't know what I don't want y'all showing me no more future stuff. Had enough, you know, right up to here. Nope, don't want it. If it's really important or something, then showing up, okie dokie. But but here's the thing in that it's 118. Y'all ready? I've watched him twice recently. Never what was going on until I watched the last two shows. Let's see. Chloe, to remote view someplace where I've never been doesn't make sense because I can't prove I was there. I can say, what was a good, nice dream. But if I want a remote view, truly, and I practiced this years ago for, if you've heard me talk about the lady I worked with at the radio station, where we picked I would go and walk there and go and anything. So anyway, pick someone who knows you might do this so that you to remote view, you can say, listen, tonight I'm going to try to I'm going to try to come to your house and visit you, and I'm going to see if I can see. Don't tell me that you're going to watch a movie or nothing or whatever, but I'm going to try to come and see what you're doing tonight. Um, or maybe you don't tell them, but in case they are perceptive, you don't want to scare them like I did with Sheila. So who is perceptive, and she actually saw me show up. So several times, right? And so what you do is you you visit a person at their place and observe. Are you know are do they have their feet on the couch and they're laying down watching a movie? So Yeah, but they're always watching TV. Yeah, but are they laying down? Do they have a pillow? Are they eating popcorn? Observe what's going on. So when you see the person the next day or so, or call them and you go, hey, I was doing some remote viewing and were you laying on the couch eating popcorn with the dog in your lap? And they go, yeah, how'd you know that? That's how you prove whether or not you remote viewed. There's proof there. And as I've said before with my stuff, always look for a clock wherever you're going. Look for a clock to verify the time you were there, because then you can tell the person, well, it was about 10:30 ish. I saw the clock behind you over there on the wall, and I think it said 10:30. And they were like, oh, wow, I had just popped me some popcorn from the microwave. And guess what? It was 10:30. So that's how you prove shit. All right. Not that you can't with Max or nothing. That's not my point. But to do it on your own, this way it's controlled. 20. Thank you, Chloe. A reason to light. So with your remote viewing, you have a goal, you have a set place, you have a way to prove it, not prove it, or whatever, by observing what's going on at somebody's house, or something like that. You can say, I went to your house yesterday. Now for me, for example, I would like have to I couldn't just pop into somebody's house, okay, unless I'd been in their house or whatever. But still, I would like get there by observing their house. And I would look at the front of the house, and if the carport's on the left or so, and they got a little walkway, and here's the I'm thinking of somebody's house right now, you see. And they got a little stone, not stone, but brickwork around their mailbox that everybody runs into. And they got a walkway that goes up to the front, the porch across the front. They got a rocking chair, and they usually have a yellow light and on the front porch. And so I can see the front of my friend's house if they haven't sold it, or moved. um but so with that though, I can, so when if I'm going to go visit their house, I I visualize the house. So then, depending on what I'm doing, I might actually knock on the door, like, okay, I'm here. I present myself, and then I go into the house versus just show up in somebody's living room. Okay. So if I'm wondering what my friend is doing and if they're watching a movie or not, first I go up to the front of the house. I know where I'm at. Okay. I have made my location. I'm there. And now I'm going to see what's going on inside. Now that's how I do it. And it's worked really well for me over the years. So, but everybody's got their own methods or whatever. But to I gave up blindly, just, ooh, let's go see where, my astral plane could. Nah, I gave that up because that shit can and will get you in trouble, especially now with the spirit wars that are going on. Do not go out wandering aimlessly. Please, Jesus, don't do that. You know, if you're gonna practice, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but practice with the goal. Have somebody else on the other end or something like I just mentioned. Okay, practice that away. But I can't do. I just can't do Max. I mean, there's too much confusion for me. There's too many voices or something. That's me. So everybody else, if you can practice with Max, go do it, okay? Because that's a person, it's in a controlled situation, and it's got parameters, okay? Okay, Joe, good to see you. Are these spirit boxes just as dangerous as remote viewing? Anytime you're dealing with above natural, to use the word supernatural is a little, because to hear spirit voices or to take pictures of orbs, for example, um, that they're there. So if you're tuning in and listening to Spirit Box or something, mm, it's already there. Okay, you just are looking for the frequency, but at the same time, if you're linking to the frequency, some of these spirits can link to you. I would be very careful because what could seem like for me in the old days, staying up late and listening, going through the AM stations, on late night radio and listening to those disc jockeys that were hundreds, if not thousands of miles away because the AM signal, bounces off the atmosphere and uses the earth as a ground, excuse me, uses the earth as a ground and so to tune into a station like, I'm in Tampa and there were times when I could listen to WLS out of Chicago. WLS out of Chicago. There were times when I could hear Jacksonville. Well, I was in Tampa. That wasn't so much a stretch. But to listen to Chicago at late night in Tampa, boy, talking about bouncing off the atmosphere, but coming home late at night, I used to listen to Slidell, Louisiana, and the trucker's favorite, and and there ain't no way I should be able to hear Slidell, Louisiana, because you can't do it on an FM, but you can do it on an AM radio. So listening in is one thing, because it's a radio broadcast. But when you're tuning into spirit things, I would just say, just be careful. You was a ham radio operator, yeah. So you get it, Joe. So I've been curious about the spirit radio thing myself, but my spirit guides are like, "Don't you hear enough chatter already?" And I'm like, well, you got a point there." Yeah. Um, I have never tried the spirit radio per se, although I have heard some things between channels on an AM radio. And have just heard some things in general. It's like, do you really need a radio? And the answer is not really. If you're just kind of like searching the universe, there are things that you can hear and pick up, and some of it ain't really good. Some of it's some crazy shit, that's just floating around out there in the universe because all of these are energy waves and radio waves and frequencies. And, I'm sitting here and talking with you, but I'm also putting out brain waves in this discussion. It's going into the universe. I can't help it. Ooh, well, we got some lagging going on, don't we? Hmm. I remember talking to the space station once. Yeah, there have been some interesting things over the last few years that have just been very, very, very interesting, in being connected to and otherwise wired to and stuff, and visions of things, and then they kind of sort of come true one way or the other. And, you know, there are times when I have seen things that there's going to be an occurrence. And so the occurrence happened, like a family meeting or somebody coming to visit or something. It may not be the person you thought was coming, or it may not be the way in the vision or the dream or whatever, that it doesn't work out the same way, but the outcomes are similar. A situation does arise, and it does concern family members, just not the way you thought. Okay, the way you thought. So, like me finding the feathers, I interpret something, I'm going to the right, when the answer was 20 degrees to the left and in the bushes. Okay, that was the real answer, you know? So, you got a 360-degree choice to make. Where do you go? So I'm going this wrong. You know, cold. You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice. Anyway, uh, I swear sometimes I would lay down and hear the radio in my ear. Yeah, I have turned on the radio at times and the exact same song will be playing. Yep, I can hear it playing. Yep, that has happened to me so many. At first, it used to freak me out. Then I got used to it going, and then it's like, no, don't interrupt that song. Don't go to commercial. Wait. Da 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 da. You got to hear the rest of the song. You got to sit in the car before you go in the house because the song's still playing. Yep, I get that, Chloe. Yeah, see, for those of us that can talk about this kind of stuff, which is like one of the reasons I'm here, there are a lot of us that have had these very similar things. These radio waves and everything are just floating around out there. I mean, if you've got a radio and you pull up the antenna and you turn it on and tune it to the station, so all the stations on that radio dial are available to you within range. So, for here, there's Moultrie, there's Tallahassee, there's Thomasville, there's Albany. So each one of these places has at least one radio station. So on the dial, I can tune into all these towns and all the little places in between. And sometimes one's even further away, depending on the conditions. If it's nighttime and it's a clear, and so you're picking up all these stations and I'm just sitting here at the house. So all these radio waves are already out there. The antenna just helps me to dial in the frequency of what's already out there. So if you've got a spirit radio, then you're just dialing in the frequency of that radio station. That's all. Because in my head and my frequency, Dave's got his own radio station, you know, besides a YouTube channel. But each of us, with our own frequency and our own vibrations, we are that in the universe. So when I'm connected with people like with Michelle, there are times when, it's it's right then. We connect. And same thing with Barry and other people too. I mean, um, Steve and I have had similar events, different folk. Chloe and I have had similar events. But because in the quiet silence, we have learned to pick up each other's frequencies, each other's radio stations. Um, we've got our own little walkie-talkie. This is my walkie-talkie. This is my frequency. And when you learn my CB handle, you can tune me in on channel whatever, and we can have our communication. We can remote view. The practice with some people over the years. I haven't recently because no, at this time, nobody has seemed willing to want to practice this way. But for example, just wake up in the morning and say, I'm, I want to reach my sister. So I tell my sister Lynn, say, listen, in the mornings, I want you to just clear your mind and let me know if you have any thoughts about me or something or whatever. I don't want you to think about it. I don't want you to go, well, I wonder what Dave's thinking this morning. I don't want you to do that. But if you have a thought of, damn, I've got Dave, what's this? I'm having this feeling that Dave's eating pancakes or something, you know. And then later on, I go, hey, sis, you know, the other day I was thinking about you and I was eating pancakes. She goes, I had that thought. So that's how you know you connect with people. That's how you learn to fine tune your connection with other people is to do simple things like that. So you send someone that you're trying to, you know, not necessarily mind meld, but learn their frequency so that if you can tune in, um, then somebody says, well, about 2 o'clock, I was thinking about you. I had this weird thought and something, they don't know what it was, but you or me or I popped into their head or they popped into my head or whatever. But when you look at the clock and go, whoa, it's 1:40 in the morning time and such is thinking about me. Dave's having a live stream, and Chloe said earlier, I was thinking about you. And I knew that. Oh, it's fine tuned, the ones I love very well. Yeah, yes, but people ask questions and speak to the spirits with the spirit box. Depends on what you want to do with it, Chloe. It's fine tuned with the ones I love very well, just not with anything else. Right. Well, but here's the thing, Chloe, that there is all kinds of anything else out there, you know, just there's a lot of stuff out there on different levels and different dimensions, on different frequencies. So, there are folks who, dicker with dark black magic, on that side, they're have to create spells and things and whatever. And in my humble opinion, that's just the wrong way. There's just so much available without all that nonsense. And the other thing is that people, for whatever reason, seek power. Like, why would you give up anything? Why would you have to conjure something to get your wish? Now, I used to try it, I used to do it, and I've learned that why do I want to conjure a demon? Why do I want to get somebody else to do something kind of sort of, ain't that cheating? Ain't that wrong? I'm asking, I'm asking because at the time I was like, I want this person to love me. No, and it would have worked out really bad anyway, but it was the wrong thing with something that I desired. I was really hot for this person and I was really hoping and we were good friends and but it was, friends is all it was. It wasn't about lovers or long-term relationships. So, but I wanted it so badly. I was willing to do spells or whatever. And like, how can I get her to love me? And how can I get her to, and it just wasn't in the cards. It just wasn't in the cards. And I tried to make it that way. And uh so if you have to force your will, or if you have to force the universe for something, it ain't worth it. If it doesn't come naturally, and if it doesn't somehow work itself out naturally, then it just really wasn't meant to be. Now, that doesn't mean, if you've met somebody and you really like them and you've clicked, it's one thing to say, well, I'm just not going to call them anymore, or that's just it. Now, so there are things like follow ups. And if they call you or you call them, and you follow up and you continue a friendship, and if it develops into something else, that's different. So you have a choice to participate or to go, well, I don't know. Well, but if you say, well, I really like this person, and maybe something will develop between us. Okay. But if you just leave that maybe into the future, and your intent is to just get to know them, to develop a friendship, and allow the universe to make its decision, you know? Are you two really going to get together? And you might say, man, I really like this person. Man, I'd marry that person. I would. And then in 2 weeks' time, you go, oh, holy crap, you find out something about them that just drives you bonkers. And you go, whoo, I just reconsidered that gonna marry you kind of thing, you know. Because we make these decisions. Uh, I've heard a rumor that some guy stumbled upon a bad spirit and had told him, "Make a deal with me, or I'll take your life." So there are scammers over there too. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Oh yeah. And you ain't got to have a spirit radio to get into trouble, but just saying. So, first you have to determine what are your goals. Like for me, I'm always wanted to know about, first I was a Catholic altar boy, and then I wanted to know whether or not, Satan existed and whether or not witchcraft was true. And so I started dabbling, and then I realized, oh, holy crap, it's a lot more true than I would like it to be. I do not want I don't want to be involved in this, but I don't want to be a Catholic anymore either. So I started studying different religions and different things, and that's what's led me on my shaman's journey. I ended up here as a shaman, which I would have never thought, right? So, but anyway, but I always knew I was spiritual. So how we develop that spirituality is up to us and which turns we take. So you just got to trust the universe of what it gives you and know that it's the right thing. There's one thing to participate or pursue. There's chasing, and then there's the pursuit, and then there is just being active. So if you like a person and you communicate with them, but if you try to push your intent upon them, now you can tell a person, man, I really like you, and I wish that, I hope that we can be, long-term friends and maybe more, and leave it at that, and don't pursue it, and just be yourself. And if that develops, okay, fine. I expected it for years. I spent so much time looking for that other partner when I I needed to be a hermit on a hermitage. As much as I would really, I always thought that I'd be sitting, sitting watching the sun go down with my sweetie, and we'd be arm in arm and smoking one, and having tea or coffee or whatever. And well, that didn't work out, you know. So I kept looking and searching and looking and hoping, and I just kept getting myself into even worser situations. When finally it was like, dumbass, this ain't your, sorry, as much as you want it, at least for now. up to this point, it ain't, this ain't you, you know? You got to be this. Well, I can bitch and moan all I want, but this is the reality, you know? Could I meet somebody and something develop? Okie doke. But trying to force the universe to, I need a mate and I can't live without somebody, and if I don't have a date, and if I, nah, no, because it's wasted energy, you know. So if the universe, if I'm supposed to connect with somebody, it'll happen. If it don't, then, you know, this is the rest of my journey. This is just the way it's got to be. As much as I might dislike it, it's just got to be the way it is. I used a prayer of intent before and used the same prayer at the close. How do I clean up after a spirit box session? With some kind of sage, some kind of sage. Okay, Joe, my brain just, holy water. Holy God, have holy water, but you know, that might not necessarily be a bad idea. You know, wash yourself with water with a cleansing and some, you know, might not be such a bad idea. That things aren't worse off than what it is. Yeah, with going to the hospital and stuff, and them asking you a barrage of questions. What is your religion, and what's this, and if something happens, do you want a preacher to come in and pray over you or whatever? And I've had some interesting conversations with people at the healthcare centers. And I'm like, they go, well, do you believe in God? And I go, yeah, very much so. You know, I'm very much you know, I believe in Jesus and I believe in God. And yeah, and I'm a very spiritual person, but I am not a religious person. And they go, oh, okay. So you can be, and if you explain to him, I am a very religious person. I'm sorry, I am a very spiritual person, but I'm not a religious person. Oh, so where, and down here in the South, they're really critical about such things. You know, they want to know your business. You know, so I share my business. So they say, well, are you Buddhist or whatever? And so when they ask for my ethnicity now, I've been putting down Native American because that is a, I am was born in America and I am a Native American. Well, but I do have lineage through the Cherokee, at least on one side. I don't know about the other side. But at least on one side, we have Cherokee and three generations, three grandmothers. And so, with with that said, in that, but I'm looking at it that if you have to ask my ethnicity of Mexican descent, of English descent, of German, Italian, I mean, you know, we thought for a long time, us kids, that it was a joke, but we thought we were all Polacks. We walked around and told Polish jokes and everything, and it wasn't until we was like, I was 40 or 50 years old when they told us, they said, "You're not Polish. That was just a joke." And we looked, us kids looked at each other, and we look and said, "But we thought you were serious. You kept joking. You kept the joke alive for years. You didn't let up. You never said, ha ha ha, the joke's on you." It was, you know, no, you kept the joke going for like 20 years. And then all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, you're not really Polish. What? So, you know, but we as kids were telling Polak jokes and thought it was funny. And I'm a Polak. And how many Polacks does it take to screw in a light bulb? You know, three: one to hold the bulb, and two to twirl the ladder. Of course, anybody should figure that one out. Um, oh God, the Pollock jokes we had. And then then you couldn't say Pollock anymore. And then it was, you know, how many morons does it take to screw in a light bulb? Well, first you go ask the Pollocks. you First you go ask the Pollocks, and then they'll tell you. Oh God Almighty! But so, but truly, my ethnicity is that I was born in America. I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. I was born in the Buckeye State, my father and mother were from Dayton, which is up the road from Cincinnati. I was born in an orphanage, um, you know, and I was given, not to my mother, but to um, foster homes. I was in six foster homes in my first 3 years of life. And so, which really confused me for a lot of years, let me tell you. It took a lot of therapy to figure that one to get over that. But because there were things that happened when I was little that I just couldn't shake. And I finally had to just say, listen, whatever it is over. We can't keep living to figure out what happened then. We're in the now and got to live for the future. But I did some serious going into other realms and stuff and psychodrama kind of things, and to try to understand what these dreams were of me being on all fours and being chased in a cave. And I might very well have been abducted as a little child. Who knows? But here's the thing: whatever happened then, I'm in the here now. So, and I'm safe from whatever happened then. And whatever happened then, I've made it through it and I'm here now. So, you know, um, but the dreams were so clear and so vivid and so strong that it panicked me and it sent, and I was not in a very good mental state at the time when I was having these reoccurring nightmares of being in this cave and being chased and them catching me and holding me down and just not pleasant at all. And so, but those are, not everybody goes through that kind of thing, right? So, whatever my life choice was, as Casey might say, that hey, look, you chose this when I was up yonder, and they said, okay, we got a mission coming up. Are you willing? You going to accept it? What you know? There's going to be trouble. Your mama ain't married, and she's 16 years old, and she's going to a an orphanage to spit you out into this cold world, cruel world. Are you ready for this mission, David? No, aka possibly Hawkeye. And I accepted the mission, and I did not read the fine print. But anyway, so with that said, so everybody's got their own life story. But we're all here with a mission, and that's to get through life the best way we can. You know, um, that's our mission. What's your mission? To do the best you can and to get through tomorrow and the next day and to still be here in a month or hopefully we're here next January having conversations, Let's all make it another day. Let's all make it another month or a year or millennium or, whatever the deal is. So, and let's not sweat the small stuff because, the bigger picture is we got to make it through this. I die alone. Hey, odd question. If I watch ghost hunter YouTubers, will the spirits that those guys meet come through my TV? If it's live, there could be a residual frequency. And I say residual frequency in that, we've had conversations here when Chloe or Michelle or Isby or some of us, we've been thinking, right, we're right on the same page. The energy, we are sharing it. When I'm doing cards and I hit the cards and they are right on the money, and folks go, "Wow, Hawkeye hit that one right." You know, um, so that connection is right there. So it's feeding through somehow. You're feeling the card. I'm feeling your energy, and so because it's out there, and we are connecting. So these other spirits are out there, so the fact that you may be watching something live, if it's recorded, nah. But you can have residual effects of what you witnessed. And that can screw with your internals, okay? So, I used to love horror movies, but I don't watch them anymore. Cuz that's just the wrong energy. Well, it's just a movie. Yeah, I know. But I don't want to watch a slasher movie. I just, you know, now I do like a good samurai. I love sword fighting kind of thing, and but the blood and gore and the guts and everything, nah. A good fight scene, and they get stabbed and they fall over dead, okay. But when guts spurt out everywhere, nah, um, because the thought of seeing all the blood and the guts and the killing, is that really something that I want as part of my being? I want to absorb that energy, even though it's a movie, even though the movie's about history. These wars went on and thousands of men were killed. um you know I live in the South, and there was a civil war, and there's Andersonville up the road, and the pain and the suffering, and yeah, okay. But do we want to carry that energy? Even though we just watched it, it's still, we experienced it in some way. Hey, Susie, how you doing? Do we want that experience of death or dying or torment or whatever to carry into our daily life in any way, shape, or form? Oh, I watched this thing the other day about Hitler and the Jews and all of the concentration camps. And this statement is true, but it happened a couple of months ago. But anyway, so I was like, wow. Now, at the time, I was really mesmerized into who some of the people were who ran the camps and what happened to them and the Nuremberg trials and all. And for a couple of days, I was like in this thing. And on the third day, I was like, have we like not had enough of this? Yeah, but what about this guy? He was a real evil mofo too. What happened to him? Don't know. Have we not seen enough death and destruction? This guy got hung, and that person got shot, and this person went to prison, and boy, there's a lot of lag time. Your energy goes where your attention flows. Just know that there are a lot of other energies out there. There are a lot of entities, energies that are out there. So just be aware they're there. And do you really want to tune into some of these folks? Honestly, do you really want to tune into some of these folks? Just saying. And you may listen or hear something, but do you want to have it? Just saying. And if you have a chat with them, if you ask the spirits on the other side, oh, what's it like to be dead? Or is Uncle Hank there? Uh, how you going to know they're telling you the truth? How you going to know whether or not to believe them? How do you know whether or not you should be listening to their punky butt in the first place? But with that said, so simply because you hear it, you have to discern it. You got to, chew your cud on it and go, you know, that's like me having this conversation with y'all and discussing these matters. And it's like, what is that quiet silence? And why is it necessary? And um, is it necessary in my everyday life? And I would say, absolutely. And if you learn to use your perception and use your intuition and to use that silence and the quiet, and you hear that other voice that says, slow down, there might be something up ahead, and you go, yeah, well, bullshit, and you don't slow down, and a deer jumps out in front of your truck. That's happened to me. I was coming home from the store, well, the other day when Duggar and I went into Meg's, and I was coming back in it, and it was, getting dark 30, and turned on the lights, and I was like, this is the perfect time for deer. Um, and the feeling came over me that, be careful. And it wasn't a mile that a young doe jumped across in front of the truck. And I was like, there you go. It was just that time of day, and just coming home from the store. And there's all kinds of deer up and down the road and all kinds of plantations around here. But it was just that I had this sense to just pay attention. It's that time, rather than just drive home and just careless. Had I been careless, I could very possibly hit this deer, because I slowed down and was aware of it, and then saw it off to my left as it jumped in front of the truck. And I was like, that was a close one. Because instead of going 55, I had slowed down to about 45, and sure enough, there was a deer. And I was like, psh. But this happens to me all the time. I'm like, the awareness of something. So listen to my spirit guides will warn you of deer. Okay. It will warn you of other things. It will warn you of accidents. It will warn you of dangerous chemicals, or it will warn you of all kinds of stuff. But you got to be willing to know that it's there and to trust it. So, finding all those feathers the other day was another test for me. Go where you want to, and you didn't find nothing. Go where we were kind of gently motioning you, and I found, you know, 10. Um, for those of you who didn't see, I'll show them. I won't get them out of the bag, but there are knock knock birds, woodpeckers. And I found these in a walk in the woods the other day. And by following my intuition and being led by the spirits, I found all of these feathers. They're too clumsy to get them out, but to the point though, it was my spirit guides testing me and saying, "Okay, will you listen to us?" My old friend was tuning into those dark, spooky, paranormal stuff hard. I felt the strong need to eject from that friendship. Yeah, because it can draw folks who are so I know folks like that too, Joe, or at least I did. And they were so into it. There were times when I was like, I just can't be around you. I'm sorry, but what are you listening for? I heard this spirit and it spoke to me and it did this, and it's like their description of what they heard, the energy that came back on me. I was like, dude or dudette, I don't want to, don't push that energy on me. I don't want to hear what that spirit said to you, and I don't want the was what 2 days ago. Oh, the 2 days ago. No, three, I think. But I've been discussing this, so you may have heard me discuss it because there's woodpeckers up here in Idaho too. Yeah. And there was one I heard, I guess it's been about a week ago. We had a couple of days of bad weather and I couldn't get into the woods. So I guess it's been about 3 days ago now. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I think I did the walk on Friday, or was it Saturday? Huh. 2 days ago, this is Tuesday, Monday, you would have met Sunday. I think it was Friday or Saturday that I went on the walk. So 3 days. But I've been thinking about the walk since it's happened. It's been very strong on my mind the last 2 days, if that's any help. So I've been like I've been replaying the walk. Okay, if that helps, Chloe. But I was outside. Are you doing all right, Miss Susie? It's good to see you. And was just outside collecting wood. Um, yeah, you may not have picked up the walk per se, but you have picked up me rewalking it, replaying it. Yeah, because Sunday was bad weather here, and there wasn't any walking going on Sunday, so it must have been Saturday for me here. But anyway, it's interesting that while I was doing the walk, I was like, if I could just project the walk to the universe, would anybody hear it or see it? I've only seen a woodpecker maybe a handful of times, but I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3 days ago. Well, with you, but had one out there. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it was a day or so before I found the feathers that I'm standing outside the house here, and the woods is right there, you know. And I'm like, there was a woodpecker back there really close. I mean, like, sounded like he was not just in the backyard, but when I say the backyard, I mean like close to the house backyard. If I say out back in the woods, that's further back. But if I say out back in the yard, that's 15 feet in the woods kind of thing. That's how my brain works anyway. So it was close to the house, and I mean, and just really just knocking it out. I'm like, man, and I was in the middle of doing something. I was like, I really ought to go walk and see where what tree he's working on, because I can stand back here, um, and the land drops down right back here, and I'm by several feet, and it doesn't necessarily give me a bird's eye view of the woods, but I'm up higher than I am if I'm in the woods back there trying to look up. So anyway, I was like, where could that bird be, and what tree would it be in, so I can keep an eye on it. And since I've got this trail cam, I was like, I could set the trail cam up if he's going to the same tree and see what kind of woodpecker it is, right? So anyway, I'm having all these thoughts, and then the next day or two, I find all of the feathers from what I'm guessing is the woodpecker I heard previously. So, you know, um, that's the progression. That's the rest of the story about the woodpecker and me listening to and being quiet. This has actually been transpiring over the last week, if you want to get right down to it. The whole story has been going on for a week, which in and of itself, and you hearing woodpeckers and seeing them. So, and I have not looked it up, but curious as to what the woodpecker is. I know that there's are very few stories about the woodpecker. And one of the stories that I'm not sure if it was told to me or if it came to me in a dream, or I'm not really sure how it came about, but it was about the hiding bird. And there's a tree right out here on the other side of the truck. I can watch this little ladder back through the window. But if I step outside, he goes to the opposite side of the tree. If I'm looking through the window and he don't see me, he's all over that tree and I can watch him all day long. But as soon as I walk out of the house, he goes to the back side of the tree. So woodpeckers, a lot of times, because woodpeckers were hunted for their feathers, and they hide from humans. They don't make themselves just a lot of times. No, I'm not. I know there are people who go, "Well, I got a woodpecker right down in the woods," and well, y'all have got. He's got acclimated to you, and you've got acclimated to him. But wild woodpeckers, they don't like you to get close to them. It's very difficult to see woodpeckers in the wild. They will run, hide, and I mean they're really good at it too. They will fly away before you can ever get close to take a picture. I've tried. For years I've tried. But on the other hand, we had a tree back when I was married to the last crazy person, or the last crazy person I was married to, depending on how you want to look at that. Um, there was an old pine tree, and they had hollowed out a hole that was this big around, and they were going in and out all the time. And you could sit on them. At the time, there was sort of a back porch upstairs, and look out the window and watch them. But we knew each other, and they had built a house close to the house. They had built their house close to the house, and so we were in and out of the house, and they didn't run, and we watched them raise a brood, and they disappeared. But and they were wild, but they were used to us being so close to the house. But since then, any of the other wild woodpeckers around that I can hear in the woods to try to get close and take a picture, nah. For whatever reason, they just don't trust you. And so, but the story was about the hiding birds, and it was about how the woodpecker, grandfather, how come we can't see the woodpeckers? We can only hear them. Because my son, man has shot them for their feathers, and so now they hide from us. And much like squirrels, if you want to go squirrel hunting, you got to sit down underneath a tree and just sit there. You know, you don't go chasing them. Don't go stomping around. If you're going to go squirrel hunting, you go find a spot and where you know that there are squirrels around underneath some oak trees or whatever, and you sit still. That's how you hunt squirrels and other critters too. But if you think you're going to just walk through the woods and I'm going to find a squirrel, they're going to run from you long before you ever get there. because him and I are saying the same thing, and I know he hasn't read the rest of my comments yet. You talk about me? I live in the suburbs, and the woodpeckers around here aren't too freaked out about people. Yep, it inspires you to seize your desires and never give up on your dreams. The woodpecker symbolizes new opportunities, creativity, optimism, courage, motivation, revival, self actualization, balance, communication, protection, and discernment. Well, that's a lot of stuff, Chloe. But I'm in the middle of doing a lot of decision making about having surgery on my back. So the fact that I found all of those um, feathers and relatively in the same spot, um, as opposed to being spread out over a large area. No, they were within a fairly close range. But so with the discernment and all that, new opportunities. So my new opportunity is to have back surgery and to have I spoke with the nurse today at great length and discussing, how patients feel afterwards, complications, and things like that. So, maybe finding, the woodpecker feathers, all of them, is to help me discern all of this information and to help me make a decision about whether or not to have back surgery. Just saying, we get messages that help us to do all kinds of things. And so if I need to look at these feathers and the new information that I have and sit down and have a spirit chat. But, there you go. But so, messages from the universe, as you always hear me say, to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, many blessings from the universe. And oh, the surgery thing. Yeah, I'm looking at all the different angles and so forth, and I've gotten other opinions, and I'm not going into this with just blind eyes. I've done some serious research into the type of surgery I'll be getting. And the nurses helped a lot today in having the discussion with them, and they sent me a what's it called? I think I put it up. Nope, it ain't there. That's too much light. Get this for jargon. Lumbar stenosis with neurogenic claudication. Ooh. He has progressive neurogenic claudication to the extent that he can no longer walk. His recent lumbar MRI confirms the presence of severe or critical stenosis noted at L23, L34, L45, with a far lateral disc herniation noted at L5S1 right. With his progressive symptoms as noted, well correlated with the MRI, we have discussed surgical decompression at the involved levels directed towards neural decompression in symptomatic relief. He is aware that interspinosus arthrodesis may be required for any iatronic instability due to the decompression required. Now, I needed help with that. And what they mean is when they get in there, if they find out if it's bad enough, and they might have to bolt me together, they're gonna, and they've got different methods to use that to do it. So we have discussed the procedure in detail with its attendant risk and potential complications, including but not limited to incomplete pain relief, increased numbness or weakness, paralysis, late post-operative instability requiring fusions, meaning that if it don't work the first time, I might have to go back in and they might have to put something else in or do something else. CFS, CSF, which is spinal fluid leakage, which I've had before and it's no fun. Loss of bowel or bladder control. They did not tell me that. Bleeding, blood loss, or infection. Now, I understand that the procedure was demonstrated on an anatomic model, and he voiced understanding with no questions. He desires to proceed. We will make the necessary arrangements and notify, which is what they're doing. So, you know, when you look at the MRI, it's really, I'm very grateful I can still walk. I was about to ask you what does the last part mean. But so they have a booklet here that they gave me, and this is an overview. Let's see if you can't really see this, but it shows the different types of operations uh, and and what they do. So there's spinal disc replacement, there's spine fusion, there's a laminectomy, which is what they did with my neck up here. There's foraminectomy, if I guess that, cervical arthroplasty, which is an artificial disc, and there's cervical and lumbar discectomy, which is probably what is going to happen with me. But if it's bad enough, then they're going to do the arthroplasty, which they use these titanium clips that they put in to keep your spine from, there's no disc. I don't have any disc in my lumbar. They're gone. And so, I would expect them to put something in there. And they have these titanium clips that they put in to keep the space so it doesn't jostle around and crunch and continue. Go ahead, put them in, put them clips in me, because I understand. Um, so is it about to be oh my God, we missed a 20 because I was yakking. I still have something left in my bowl. So, but the thing is, and I continue, all my other tests came back. Yeah, I got a heart problem, but I'm dealing with it with medicines, and I don't have to have any other kind of surgeries or anything. So my quality of life depends on whether or not I can walk. I mean, if I can't walk and my back is broken and I have to be in a wheelchair and that's what I have to accept, okay, um, I'll learn to accept that. But if the surgery can help me to even be able to walk some again with, just a 50% loss in the pain that I'm having, would it not be worth it? So that's what I'm considering at the moment. I know there are risks, but to live the rest of my life with a bad spine, as bad as it already is, I've got nothing to look forward to in that. I can do a lot of praying and I can do a lot of, oh, mental this and that. But I'm telling you, I've seen the MRI. It's hosed. Oh, God, it's hosed. I should have had this done years ago. Well, something came across my happy 20, by the way, came across my little vi- visionary stuff, and they have a product now, and I've wondered about this for years. With all this stuff that they've got, couldn't they take, some kind of foam injection or something and like put it in there and squirt something in there that would expand and harden and just stay there? Or if they got to cut you up, as a machinist myself, I've worked with nylons and Delrons and Textrons and all different kinds of polymers that we've used and is still used in many, 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 many machining processes. And it's a type of plastic, and they make them with different compounds and whatever, but they're tough as nails, and some of them can take hard poundings, some of them can take repetitive stuff, and it's easy to work with and machine, and anyway. So, couldn't you take one of these pieces of Delrin, and measure what a normal disc is supposed to look like, separate them bones, and pop that puppy in there, and that will be the cushion. The bone can't touch each other because there's this Delron spacer in between. And so, in watching this thing the other day, and it was really curious, but it was about people with knee issues, and so that they have this stuff that they can inject into the joint if there's bone on bone rubbing, that they can and is squirt this stuff into the joint that will give it a cushion. And so I'm like, well, wait a minute now. Could you not use this on the spine? Could you not like take that needle that you would jab into a knee? And I've had needles jabbed in my knee, so I know what that feels like. But can't you like take that same stuff and jab it into the spine between the disc and you know, they've got that expander foam, shake it up good and squirt it out and it comes out as a liquid and it expands. Um, could you not do that and then trim what's left? Let it go ahead and foam up and expand, and that would keep the bone from touching bone, which is what I've got now. And other people suffer from this too. It ain't just me, right? This stenosis thing. So, but to the level of how bad it is, that's what shocked me. Oh my God, it's really crappy. Oh my God, I really do need to take care of this or I'm in big doo doo. I assumed it worked something like what you're saying. Yeah, sure modern science can make artificial joint collagen. I think that's what they're working on. Years ago, they were working with some kind of, I'm going to say papaya, but I don't think it was that. It was some kind of exotic fruit, and that they were using this juice and injecting it into the joints of people, and it was helping them. But I'm not sure what the fruit was. But to the point, though, I know that because of they took three different views of my spine from the side, from the back, and from the top, that they could get a pretty good picture, and it's digital, that they can create a 3D model of what the disc should look like and could take it and transfer that over to a CAD program that with a CNC end mill, with probably a ball end mill and the right speed, could create a disc that would fit right between the two vertebrae that are damaged. Now, I know that they did a study years ago about, inserting certain things, but anything that could get in there to keep the bone from crunching, in my humble opinion. And I even told the doctor when they did my surgeries on my neck, I said, I'd be willing to try something like that if you would be. And that was back in 89 was my last surgery. And I was still willing back then. I was like, look, get a piece of damn plastic and shove that bitch in there, and that'll keep my spine from getting. Instead, they took a piece of my hip and a tiny little piece of bone, and I bitched at him. I said, "You did all that surgery and you couldn't get a bigger piece of bone? Come on, you had a whole hip to work with. What's wrong with you?" But anyway, do you guys know about those weird bread bag ties? What about them? I still got the twisty ones. Yeah, what about them, Joe? Now you got us all with bated breath. It's something other than the wire ties, I'm assuming. 3D printer. I know, not the twisty ties, but I don't know of any other types. I live in the South, and we're Hicks down here. No idea what the other ones look like. And I don't go to big box stores anymore, so um, if it ain't in my local square tab, nope, I've not seen them. That's new to me. I'll have to keep an eye out just because. Okay, so what's up with them? They're square, ugly looking tabs. Is that what's up with them? That almost sounded snotty, didn't it? I didn't mean it to be. But so anyway, with this understanding of listening to the quiet, and then in the quiet, there's the silence. There are many, 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 many different possibilities, as far as helping a person in life with life changes and life things and stuff that comes up. So it isn't just about being spiritual, but if you connect that way, it will help you to be spiritual. And so there's a double whammy. It's going to help you in your day to day life because you're going to be able to listen to that intuition that's going to help you in whatever comes your way. Um, and then, it will help you to be connected with the universe and to be connected with nature and natural forces. And it will give you confidence, and you'll never be alone. And there's just so much more that that goes with that. So having faith in the universe. Now imagine that being made of a special what? ob- ob- Oblique plastic and use that to squeeze between the spine bones. Oh, I get what you mean. Yep. Well, the little spacers in the pizza box that keeps the box from crushing the top of the pizza. A similar thing in the spine, a little bit more robust. That would work, you know. But to the point, I don't know what you're talking about with the bread ties. But there are so many common things, and that it's like, but they've got this new grinder that they can go in and grind the bone away. And I've got these huge bone spurs. I mean, they show up, and they must be about yay long in real life on the top and bottom, and they're just squishing into stuff, and it's like, oh my god. So you can go in there and grind that stuff away and get rid of them really pointed bone spurs that are obviously poking stuff, and grind that and make it smoother and get in there. And so I've seen the procedure done. through other means. There's some YouTube videos out there. There are some other neurosurgeons that describe the procedure and how they do it, and they go into great detail. And so I was aware of this before I saw the doctor, but then he described it and had his little plastic, thingy of the spine, and we discussed it. I asked questions, and mostly he answered them. And so, other than he isn't going to know until he opens me up to actually see what's going on. This is what the nurse said. She goes, you can look at the MRIs all you want, but then when you actually get in there and see what's going on, you might change your mind. It may be better or it may be worse. He like he told me, he says, I don't think I'm going to have to put any hardware in you. But now it's like, and maybe he needs to reconsider. Maybe and I would agree. Don't open me up and just do a little grind and that not work and then I have to go back in. Nah, 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 nah. If you've got to put a little brace in there, if you've got to put some, titanium in there, you go right ahead. Do it now. Don't wait. Let's not, let's see if this will get us by kind of shit. Nah, 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 nah. Let's fix it right, you know. Because I intend to live for the next 10 years at least. And I want to be able to walk and do stuff, So, fix me up. So, but anyway, it's been several hours now, 2 hours and 5 minutes. But I wanted to get on and visit with y'all and not necessarily talk about my operation and everything, but I know there are other folks out there who are having similar issues and so forth. And maybe this will help in some way in that too. I was seeing a spine and a doctor folding those tabs in half. Just stick a bread tie in my spine. Yeah. I mean, from what I have looked at of my own spine and the MRI and the engineer, CAD operator, machinist in me, give me a damn piece of plastic. I'll go make one. My friend Tommy's got a milling machine. I'm I just helped him to put a metal turning lathe in. I mean, I can build stuff. You know, I have access to a mini machine shop. It's not CNC, but hey, I worked as a machinist before we had CNC. So, but anyway, you know, give me a block of Delrin and let me take some measurements and let's see what we can come up with. you know, I'm game. You know, I'll be the guinea pig. Um, Delrin is an inert material, so yeah, both went to sleep. I'm stupid about the body. Would that texture work for that? What texture? It's okay. Yep. I'm fixing to cash out on y'all too. I have, for me, it has been an interesting day and talking with the nurses and everything. But I was out cutting firewood and stuff today, and what is a normally, sore day is a little more sore than normal, But I got my saw fixed, and I cut up firewood that the ladies brought me about 10 days ago, and we got rain coming in the morning, and there is no crazy noise here at the moment. There are kitties outside, but they're not. They're being quiet. Was good to see you too, Sue. Was good to see you too, Susie Q. Ah. See you as well. There you go. Yeah. I hope you're doing well and your family and all. So be safe. But I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe. And if this 2 hour conversation has tried to help explain the what I mean by that extra, listening to the self, and I hope that it gives you a process to think about it yourself and what it means. I thought joint collagen was soft, but come to think of it, when I was eating chicken, the thing between the joint felt like soft plastic, almost like square bread. So you've been eating those bread ties, right? That's what's wrong. Quit chewing on the bread ties, Joe. Well, me and Doug are every day that we're here, we continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe. Y'all keep up the good work. I know that you're trying. And in that law of three, which is important to you and me, I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe. And if you're feeling alone, just know that there are a bunch of us out there who are sending prayers to each other. And, and we got to send a prayer out to those folks who may be dabbling in things that they shouldn't. Love to you, Susie and Chloe, Joe, Michelle, if you're still listening in the background. I keep hearing a strange animal sound. Yeah, but it ain't from here. It's quiet here. There's no outside noises, and Duggar's asleep. He was outside for over 2 hours while Robert and I were doing our thing. So he was like, he had enough run around, so he's asleep. He ain't even looking out the window like he normally does. So, and it is 2 o'clock in the morning. So much love, my dear friends. Continue to be safe, and we, you're absolutely welcome. I love visiting with y'all. So y'all be safe, and you know, keep learning how to use that intuition. Cheers, everybody. Ween and be safe until next time. I'm gonna I want to do cards soon, so look forward to that. So another day, y'all. Be safe.